almost said something else. Hello and welcome to the Hockey Republic. My good name is George Njukuna. Today I hope, I'm fingers crossed, but I trust that I will be live throughout. I am joined by, let me introduce our guest first of all, and the only lady in this conversation. Angela, how are you?
Angela, tell. Brent.
Holy Brenda. I'm giving you a third name today.
I think I should add it to my name then.
Yes,
Yeah.
you know what to do. I'm sure you will follow the constitution properly.
Yes, we call
How
it
are
a
you,
deed
Brenda?
poll.
Good.
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm fine. How's your week?
Awesome, I can't complain. So glad to be
Good,
here again.
good stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff.
Mm.
We are glad to have you
Mm.
with us. And my brother from another mother. How are you?
I'm doing well. As you can see, I'm still in my occupation. I'm still in the office. But the show must go on.
I'm not seeing codes behind you or you teaching someone something.
So those who have keen eyes will see an algorithm behind me. So
Good
for those who
stuff.
understand algorithm, yeah.
Good. Before we get this show started, the Hockey Republic celebrating 2 years, and
two
Simon,
years, man. 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah.
It is
Happy second birthday.
Exact.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Please bring us cake. There is no way someone and I will ever get cake to bring to this show. Please bring us cake. It's very interesting that Dennis Owoka was our first guest ever in the Hockey Republic. And today we have Brenda with us. Thank you so much for, coming to us at such a time that we are discussing very critical matters, and that is pertaining the constitution of our country, and even getting in our hockey rather, and also talking about other things. And into other good news is that, and this is not really news, but it's good for us to mention, is the Kenya women's national team has been given a slot in the Commonwealth, which is a very, very huge milestone. This is the first time that they are getting into this competition. Simon, let me get your quick remarks.
Wonderful opportunity. It's something we need to start preparing for, and I hope they've started preparing for that competition. Basically, we've been handed a wild card. I know people will ask how we've qualified, but more or less it's a wild card because the slot is open, and based on the coefficient and the women's team, so Ghana and Kenya qualify. I think the South Africa cannot go. So if you look at the coefficients, it's Ghana and Kenya, based on the finishing slot in the recently held ACN. Huge congratulations to Jackie, a very new team, already doing a good job taking the young girls to greater heights. Now it's upon them to roll up their sleeves and start working. Time to celebrate is gone. Just celebrate a qualification. Now we need to start working hard, because the teams you're going to find there, Jugush, are on another level. We saw how South Africa are struggling in the Pro League. So for us, truth be told, it won't be easy.
We are seeing 10 goals going upwards.
Yeah. And remember, South Africa is the best team in Africa. So I'm not downplaying our chances, but I'm just saying we need to work hard to make sure that we get into the competition ready to compete with the other top teams.
Yeah, that's true. Let's switch gears and now talk about what we are discussing today. And today we are talking about county hockey associations and their relations to, the union, the governing body for the whole country, which is the Kenya Hockey Union. And Simon, I want us to begin by looking at the roadmap to the elections.
Yeah,
I am sure you can pull it out. Yes.
Give me a moment, please.
Yeah, no problem. As we pull it out, and I'll get to you, Brenda, in just a bit. But the union, sometime in December, released a roadmap, which began with the county hockey associations. And last week, Brenda, alluded to us what the reason as to why we have county hockey associations. So what is going to happen is that we are supposed to have on the 28th of February, by the 28th of February, county associations needed to have done their elections, but that has not happened, or rather not all of them will have done so by then. So the union extended this to 20th of March 2022. So they need to have done all the elections by that date. And if you need any information, simply log on to Hokey254.com and you'll find the details as to when they are going to hold those elections. From there, we move to 15th of March 2022. This is a very key milestone in this roadmap, and this is when we are going to have the independent electoral body. This is where the likes of Brenda, I believe, come in, and she'll probably elaborate for us. And maybe, Brenda, you can come in here. What does this mean in this roadmap to the election in relation to the Kenya Hockey Union constitution?
Okay. The fact that the Kenya, in the as in any democratic space where elections are used to determine who is in office or who gets into a certain office for whatever duration of time, it is just in order that this is done, so that now when we see this roadmap, and if I would want to compare it to the national elections, it would be a situation where during the general elections, you find that the elections for the MCAs and the MPs, senators, governors follow, like they do not happen on the same day. And the only difference here is because it is not the public who are voting.
Sorry.
Pole sana. Utakula nyama. Yeah.
Okay. Now here that there are different associations that come in, and when you look at what an association is defined as, because there is a constitution for the Kenya Hockey Union that defines what associations are. The first, if you have a glance at it, it's an entity approved by the union, control the game of hockey in any geographical region within the Republic of Kenya, comprising of clubs and any other entities, umpires, and they're recognized as part of an association. So because it's not the public who are required to vote, these associations are supposed to carry out their own elections first, as they progress to the national elections. So now that there was a roadmap, and within the timelines that are given, these bodies are supposed to have conducted their elections, because if you have a keen look at the same Kenya Hockey Union constitution, you find that it is the people who are elected in these associations that form part of that send representatives, or rather it is these associations that elect people who form part of the representatives who eventually vote in the national body that is now the Kenya Hockey Union in its own. So that's the importance of not having it being done once, because if you decide that we will do it the national or the country style, that general elections are done on a particular day, you vote for your MCA, governor, woman representative, like who will vote for who at that point, because you do not have voters. Yeah, so because the voters for the national elections are voted for at the association level by their members, then the people that they select are the people who are now going to vote for the national union.
Good. Thank you. Simon, if you can return thus, that there is a very important something that will happen, needs to happen on by the 11th of April, and that is an issuing a statutory notice. Brenda, for the sake of Simon, what does that mean?
um, you see, for any body, any elected body that has representatives in office, you cannot just decide that you want to call for elections whatever time. You are guided by a statute. So a statute at this point is that law that guides you in this at this point the constitution of the Kenya Hockey Union, which now requires that the chairperson of the president of that council issues a statutory notice for elections. So it is the formal notice that goes out to the public that Kenya Hockey Union will be holding its national elections on this particular date.
Yeah, hold that a bit. You've said very well that to the public. This information at the moment is not with the public, and I've been going through the constitution here, and I've tried to find out, and I've been asking Jugush as well, and I also asked you as you continue explaining, are KHU obligated to state this roadmap to the public since it is a publicly registered entity?
It is a publicly registered entity, but at the same time, you do remember that it has members. So in this essence, the public would be the members. This information should be available for a registered member. So if I know I belong to a particular hockey club, I am a member, a registered member for that matter, then I would be interested in finding out, getting this information. So this information, this statutory notice should be put in a place where I, as a registered member, would be able to access it. So it does not necessarily mean that you publish it in the newspapers, because most bodies would want to do that. You'd want to maybe publish it. There would be a requirement of you making sure that this election date is known, is put in a place where it may be put in 2 national dailies with the highest circulation. You'd see billboards out there. That is not the case, because you remember that this is a sport that attracts a particular group of people. Not everyone would want to know what is happening, or not everyone would be interested in knowing. So there's no need of you putting billboards or newspapers or that. No, but the requirement is that the members, the people that are registered, are vested in the sport of hockey, would have this information if they go looking for it. So that once it's published, if it's published in the website, you would know that, okay, being a registered member of a particular hockey club, and I'd want to see maybe change in the leadership at the national level or even at the association level. I'd want to know when elections will be held. So I should be able to find that information readily available for me.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for that.
Remember, if you have any question or comment, do let us know on the comment section of whether you are on Facebook or even on YouTube. We will be able to answer any questions, or rather, Brenda will be able to, answer any question. The last thing on that roadmap, Simon, you don't have to put it up, is the elections, which will be held on the 16th of April. Yes, 16th of April, 2022. And this is where everyone who has issues says they want to join. They want to be part of that change. So,
but Jibush, you know one thing. After our show last week, I've talked to a lot of guys, more so over the weekend. I've met a couple of hockey players, a couple of club members, officials, and most of them are shocked that they don't have this roadmap. They they've been asking for it, and that's why it prompted me to ask Brenda about sharing this information to the public. And you've seen me scrolling through and trying to look at who are these members of the KHU that need to be informed. Does it mean that KHU has a mailing list of players? They email all players? Do they email the council members? Do they email the clubs? Because also clubs are affiliated to KHU. So it's something that probably, Brenda, you need to answer, because having spoken to some of the club members, club officials, they haven't received communication on this, and I'm sure most of them right now who are watching this is the first time they're seeing this roadmap.
Okay,
you
I'd
see,
say
Simon,
that.
go ahead, Brenda. Go ahead.
Okay, I'd say that you see, for you to form an association, if you look at going by the definition of an association, it has to be association comprises of clubs. So these clubs definitely have members. So the assumption here, or rather what the law seems to be implying here, this constitution seems to be implying, is that the associations send representatives to the council. What purpose, what role do they play in that council when they join? They are representing their association where they've come from. So they should be able to communicate, to make communication to their associations kule wametoka, so that you do not just sit on top here and forget that watu wamekutuma wako hapa, wako kwa county. So it is for you to make sure that they get all sorts of information that come from the national level, because the purpose of them sending you, your role there is as a representative. You're supposed to represent the interests of your association. Where do you get this interest from? From the clubs that form part of the association that you are representing at the national level. So you should be able to ask questions on behalf of your association. You're not there as a person, like on your own right. No, you're there as a representative. So represent the interests of the clubs, that form part of the association that has sent you to the National Council.
Yeah. So ideally, the representatives. Sorry, Ndugush, just ask.
So what you're simply telling me is that as a stakeholder or someone who is interested in this game, what I need to do is, if I need, for example, this roadmap and even the constitution, I should go ask my county association that, hey,
ask your county association, and of course, because this county association has a representative to the national union, they should be able to tell you what the union stands for, or what are your they should be able to inform you of what your interests are in the national union. So whatever goes on in the national union, they should be able to share with you to the extent that it affects your association or it affects your club, which forms part of that association. So they should be like, they're the route you use to go, because you cannot as a club just go directly to them. Go directly to the union. Yeah.
In Jugush, we've seen other sports try to cover themselves from this, where the interested parties and the stakeholders are not made aware of this. We've seen them go the route of, yes, they write official communication to the associations and their members, and they also release a press release. They release a press release to state what is going on. What is your thought on this? Because my personal feeling is that as much as they do email associations and send their representatives, just to cover yourself up, you can do a general presser, so that the interested parties are aware. You can have it on your website, on social media. We've seen FKF do it, Kenya Rugby Union do it. Should also KHU do it, so that they cover themselves? Your counties wasiende kusema we were never given this information. Yeah.
I think at this point, it's the prerogative of, and I know we're going to get into the details of it, of that constitution, which I think the three of us agree is somehow confusing. But just to answer your question, I think it's a case of it's upon the, I don't know if it's the executive, because again there are no roles in it in that constitution, or is it the council? But I think the council seems to be one that has more weight on paper, and that I'm speaking in quotes, to ask the union to do such things, so that this information is readily available to the public, or rather those stakeholders who are interested and might not be able to do that. But again, if you go back to the interview that we had with the president and the secretary general, you realize that they said, if you want to ask anything, go to your county associations, and of course from the county associations, I, as George Njuguna, cannot go and ask for a certain information. I have to again request through the club to go do it. It's somehow a bureaucratic way of doing it, but that is how things are. And if anything needs to change, then I think it is those who are being sent to be representatives to the council, or rather to the associations sending representatives, which again form part of the council, need to look at some of these things and just make changes to it.
Okay. Yeah. I also saw that the structure and composition of KHU is quite a bit, as we said, it's confusing, because we have the council, we have the executive committee, and then we've off air before the show, we've just seen that there is another committee called the honorary and what, I keep forgetting the other name. Was it
honorary life and life members?
Yes. So we have the honorary life and membership, and they do their own elections to select a committee.
So they have their own committee.
Yeah, they have their own committee, and then within the committee, they nominate 2 representatives to go to sit in the council. But as you are saying, and we all agreed, we've seen that there are other members of the council that don't have quite detailed view or detailed documentation on how they should, number one, nominate or appoint their representatives, and number two, how they should carry on their affairs. For example, we've seen that that committee is supposed to support KHU in terms of looking for funds and operations. So Njugush, that prompted me the question, and probably Brenda can now step in. What are the roles of the council and the role of the executive committee?
If you look at what the roles are, they have outlined about 12 core roles, which they call the objects of the council. And I'll just read them verbatim. Number 1 would be to encourage interest and participation in the game of hockey in Kenya in accordance with the established rules of the game, which could be amended from time to time by the International Hockey Federation. That is a general role. Then secondly, to administer and regulate the sport at national level, and to delegate authority to regional and local bodies as it sees fit to administer and regulate the sport. Now that is still nothing administrative. They generally make sure that hockey is played wherever, at whatever levels. So both national and where they cannot overlook where they cannot oversee the national, they do delegate this power to the regional associations that are there. The third role is to maintain and protect the status of players participating in the game in Kenya. So it's more of now a welfare role, so that you recognize your players and you protect them, make sure at least could be to regulate how they are paid, make sure that whenever they attend events, they attend matches, they were taken care of and all that. The fifth role, rather, the fourth role, to ensure that membership of associations, to ensure that that membership of association affiliated to the union is restricted to clubs and umpires. That's a more direct one. So generally, they are the because Kenya Hockey Union is what is recognized by the Sports Act as the national body governing matters hockey. So it is for them to even help the government identify that so and so is an umpire. Like this body is a body of umpires, this one is a hockey club, and for registration purposes generally.
So
Then,
ideally, to push, that's where your player representation now comes in. So which means players can have their own association, their own player association,
yes,
recognized by
Remember,
KHU.
it is subject to the council.
Yeah, the council. Yeah, the
They
council
can
is
approve. They
or
can approve
disapprove.
or disapprove it.
yeah,
But
because the
that
thing
answers.
that you need
Yeah.
to make sure that whatever the membership that you want to register is restricted to clubs and umpires. So you cannot just say that I want to register, but I'm a fan. I don't play. So
No, I mean
yeah,
as players.
yes,
You
as
see,
players, yes.
clubs, the members of a club are players. We have umpires who have their own Kenya Umpire Association. So players can they have their player association, and coaches can they have their coaches association
Yes, and have them
recognized by?
recognized.
Okay.
Yeah, and have them recognized. Though here they're saying that it's restricted to clubs and umpires. Then now the fifth function they're saying is to maintain absolute control of hockey in the country and to provide gratuitously or otherwise facilities, literature, or other matter whatsoever for improving and assisting or improve the standard of the game. So you'd find that in Kenya, most of these facilities that we have are basically owned by the government or by private entities. But this is a role now that KHU is being given, that they have a role. The council is being given a role of ensuring that there are facilities for training, that if there is any information that needs to, if there's any training, not just like no, not related to the game, but let's say training of coaches, training of referees, umpires, and all that. If there's anything that they need to do to improve the game, it is their sole purpose here. That like it is left for the council. They should ensure that kuna facilities enough so that you will not say that players want to go and play and they're not enough hockey sticks, so they're worn out, and they're supposed to provide material to basically make the game successful. They also have another role, which is to select as may be necessary teams to represent Kenya in matches in the continent of Africa and elsewhere. So more of run the league, because I'd want to believe that like any other sport, it's usually based on merit. So they would want to say that so and so won this, and they're the ones who are going to represent the country at a particular event or a particular tournament. So that is a function that they have been assigned. Then they're also supposed to promote and control, control and finance visits to other country in the furtherance of hockey, and to promote control and finance tours of Kenya in Kenya of visiting teams. So if other teams would want to come and play with Kenya, let's say friendly matches or benchmarking, and Kenya would also want to go to other countries, it is the purpose of the Council of the Kenya Hockey Union to make sure that they go, like they organize these tours and games and everything, like logistics. They're supposed to make sure that if Kenya players are going, or Kenya hockey players are traveling to a different country, it is for them to ensure that they are well catered for. If other visiting countries are coming to Kenya, they're also supposed to ensure that they are well taken care of. Then they're also supposed to encourage the formation of associations and clubs which play and control hockey. So as many as they can, because By that, I think it's just there to help these guys have to delegate that role, because not every club would come to the union directly and be served. So they're encouraging people to form clubs and form associations so that they can reach as many people or as many places as they can, without just necessarily being restricted to Nairobi. Because if KHU sits in Nairobi, there are other people who know how to play hockey. There are other people who want to play hockey in Lodwar, in Mombasa. So they're supposed to encourage the formation of these associations to promote the game of hockey. The other function would be, that's number 9, to promote and control such competitions, matches, and games as may be authorized by the council. Then there's also another function of to ensure a satisfactory standard of discipline is maintained by the associations and clubs, players, and officials affiliated to the association. So this is basically a disciplinary function, because if you talk of ensuring that certain standards of disciplines is maintained, then it means it's basically a disciplinary function, and not only disciplinary but also involves coming up with rules that govern the game as the game evolves, because I'm sure there are rules that used to apply in the game before that no longer apply. So they ensure that they are at par with where the International Association of Hockey is, and ensuring that the same is implemented. They can even come up with rules that only govern the game of hockey in Kenya. So where applicable, because rules would differ with circumstances. Then a final function that they do have, no, the second last, is to maintain affiliation with the International Hockey Federation and the African Hockey Federation. So they are the link between Kenya, between the hockey players in Kenya or the game of hockey in Kenya and the international front. So they're supposed to maintain that affiliation, so that they are at all times members of the International Hockey Federation and the Africa Hockey Federation. Because I'd want to believe if Kenya is supposed to, if a team is supposed to represent Kenya, they must be affiliated to KHU, which in turn will confirm that this is actually a team that is affiliated to them. And then the final function of the council here is that they shall be affiliated to the Kenya National Sports Council and the National Olympic Committee of Kenya. Now, this one is now affiliation to government bodies in Kenya, because the Kenya National Sports Council is a creation of the Sports Act, which then means the moment you register your union, the Sports Act recognizes Kenya Hockey Union as the sole body in charge of the game of hockey in Kenya. So it gives you a seat at NOC, and the government can always consider you, or the government is now aware that there is a body in charge of hockey, and if they need to make any payments or any organizing anything, like how to approach the government, you not just approach the government as a club, so you have to be represented by the union that is in charge, and that union must be recognized by the Sports Act, which is basically a creation of the government. So those are the 12 functions that they do have of the council.
Okay. Before I throw it back to Njugush, we've said that there is a committee for the honorary members. Now we've seen the council, and it says that the constitution says that the council maintains absolute control of the union, and here's the function, the members of the council. We have the executive committee. The executive committee will look at the members as we discuss, as we go back to Njugush and the roadmap to elections. And then you have 2 representatives nominated by each association, 2 reps by the foundation and honorary life members, and then 2 representatives of the National Hockey Umpires Association, any citizen of Kenya who is a member of the board of committee of the International Hockey Federation and the Africa Hockey Federation. So that answers one of the questions I saw from Facebook, where someone was asking why a member of FIH and a member of Africa Hockey are coming in to vote. So I think it's not someone from outside the country. It has to be a Kenyan, a Kenyan citizen who is a member of a committee in FIH or Africa Hockey Federation. And there's something interesting when Jugush are talking about election, we'll ask. And then the immediate past president, one representative from KUSA, that is Kenya University Sports Association, as well as one representative from the Kenya Secondary School Sports Association. So that's the council. Jugush, I'll throw it back to you so that you continue with the executive committee, because that's where the elections now come in. But one thing I noticed is the constitution states that the elections are held in a general meeting and that 10 members are elected. But if you list the executive committee members, I saw 9 listed. So is it a typo? Is it who is the 10th member? Probably Njugush, unajua ni nani?
Well, you keep throwing me under the bus, but luckily I have my lawyer here, so I will let my interpret for me and see what that means. We seem to be going towards the elections a bit of it, but let's talk about it. Let's talk about this executive because I think it's sort of, it is neither here nor there. And if you look at even the rules, and we are going to even go into the subcommittees, which is another issue. And I like you when you're mentioning, I think one of the rules, either the 5th or the 6th one, there's the issue about arbitration of the different issues that come about, and then there's the bylaws. But first, let's get into let's help Simon get the 10th member. Do we have ghost members in this?
Because let me pull up the graphic so that we see. So the executive committee has the president, of course, he's a Kenyan citizen, 2 deputy presidents.
Stop there.
Yes.
And I want to ask Brenda, does that mean that the deputy
they are actually 10?
They are 10.
Yeah,
they're actually 10.
Yeah, okay. They're 10. But now let me ask a question there. Does that mean that anyone who is not a Kenyan may for that? Because there is that bit, and there's even the deputy secretary general, and I think the deputy treasurer, and such things. Does that mean that they must not be necessarily Kenyans because it is not?
It is not specific. For a constitution, one of the rules of drafting a constitution, it must not be ambiguous. So if they did not want them, if the first one they say that the president who shall be a Kenyan citizen, so any other position that they have not specified that must be a Kenyan citizen, then it's open. It can be anyone who is not a Kenyan citizen.
Okay.
Because if they intended it to be that they shall be Kenyan citizen, they would have just written that even the deputy treasurer who shall be a Kenyan citizen, or they would have written a general. They would have given a general provision that all the executive members of the committee, all the executive committee members shall all be Kenyan citizens. So you see, there are those that they have exempted, and I think they're taking the serious positions or the most impactful positions, which is the president, the secretary general, the treasurer. All these must be Kenyan citizens.
And Jugush, back to you. I'll throw you still under the bus because you have this info. I don't know whether we should ask this as a trivia question. So who's the deputy secgen and the deputy treasurer?
I will answer you straight out.
Don't answer. I think because you have an anniversary, a 2-year anniversary, make sure you comment in the comment section below and tell us the names of the deputy secgen and the deputy treasurer, and we shall award you with our 2-year anniversary gift. I think we should give away 2 GB of data or something like that. Or a hoodie, a Hokey hoodie, or a Hokey 254 hoodie or something. So just tell us in the comment section below. Yeah, Jugush, back to you.
Good. So I think we have basically demystified that. Maybe we can get to how these people are elected. And Brenda, I would like to ask that question to you. Uh, are these the owners of the union, or who owns the Kenya Hockey Union?
Yeah.
I'd want to say the owners of the Kenya Hockey Union are the members of the clubs and associations that are registered under Kenya Hockey Union. So they are the ownership. They do own it. But again, if you look at this same Kenya Hockey Union constitution, it seems to be implying that other members are more members than others. Yani, I don't know if you get what I mean, but
Some
yeah,
are more
wanyama
equal
wote
than others.
yeah, wengine, because uh, if you look at the committee, or if you look at the committee is actually that we were talking about initially, you find that there are honorary members, life members, and the requirement for payment to be a life member, and they have they seem to be more, or to be having more elaborate functions or more elaborate descriptions under this constitution, something that even the executive committee, or rather the council, does not have. Apart from just listing what the functions of the council is, they're not really like thorough or deep inside to the fact, or how to come about with this council, or how to, if you look at it and you look at the committee that we were talking about, there seem to be people who would be called owners, the people who would feel more owners than just the members, because I don't believe if a member wants to question uh, the national union, then the Kenya Hockey Union, that is, they would be asked to do it through their associations. But if a honorary life member is represented on his own, not forgetting that there's nothing that actually prevents one from being a honorary life member, and also being a member who is represented by an association. So I think that gives them more power. So they're more of they own KHU, in as much as it's supposed to be a public entity which is owned by the members of the game, members interested in the game of hockey, that is registered members.
So,
But then the question is
Jugush,
now,
when
how
things
do
go wrong, Jugush, just wait. But when things go wrong, and people questioned KHU and they want KHU out, and people have made it apparent that they want KHU out. So when people are calling for change and they want the KHU out, so are we talking about the executive committee? Are we talking about the council?
We are talking about the council. That
Yeah,
is a
and
direct one, because they are the ones who have these functions. Because I don't believe that the people who want KHU out are looking at the functions that KHU has failed to fulfill, or they're looking at if you're supposed to represent the game, if you're supposed to make sure that you facilitate the game, provide material, provide resources, provide literature, provide trainings, provide infrastructure for the game of hockey, or the improvement of the game of hockey, then you fail to do that, you go back to the same constitution and look and have a look at um, who is it that has these functions assigned to them? Then it is the council. So if they want KHU out, it is the council that they want out,
so
because
that
it is the
includes
council that is
yeah.
elected. You'll not just tell me I want you out, yet it is an appointed position, or it is an honorary position. You did not elect me. So the people that you can call and beba mabango out are the people that you elected,
And
or
in
you
this
either
case,
directly or through your associations, your representatives.
so and in this case, if we look at the constitution, or let me pull up the graphic again. Jugush, sorry, I'm taking over your your session. So sorry, this is the
No
wrong one.
problem.
I need to pull up the right graphic for the council members.
You're the one who should be asked to go out.
No, I'm curious because I'm asking these questions based on what I've been asked in my DMs and even on our social media pages. So let's have a look at this. So when we say Kenya Hockey Union, it means all these people in this list. It's not the executive committee only, and we know the ones that are elected in this case are the executive committee. Basically, the first three. I think there is a typo there. The first three are the ones we can say are elected
Actually,
to be in the council.
Two.
The first three, because remember, the foundation and honorary life members form a committee, an elected committee, and then that committee selects 2 representatives that will sit in the council. Okay, so the executive committee, the elections are done by the we'll go into the details, but remember the executive committee are elected in a general meeting. The representative nominated by each associations are also elected to be in the association, and their names are forwarded to be in the council. And then the representatives nominated by the foundations are also elected. So whenever we say, or whenever someone comes out and says we want KHU out, it means you have to start from point number 1 all the way down to the Kenya Secondary Schools Sports Association. Because whenever we are failing, ladies and gentlemen, so that I bring, I take it back to Jugush. So whenever KHU is failing, look at everyone on that list. So which means even your county representative should be heading out, should be seeing the door. Anafaa kanyaga frame. The representative of KUSA should be asked to leave, because if the council has the ultimate power, the ultimate role to run hockey in the country, and only one part of it is running, then it shouldn't be, we should either say one part leaves or the entire unit goes away. That's my view, Njugush.
But the big question is, and I want us to stay there for a bit, and this is the issue of the foundation and honorary, hey, this word, life member. Let me just
yes. Yeah.
These are people who are nominated as how you had stated before, that the committee that is set up to appoint these 2 people. But the constitution, to my knowledge, Brenda, is very vague in the sense that they don't say how these people or how long these people can serve. For the executive, we know for how long they can serve, but the others,
but
we don't know. Go on.
Okay. Now, when I was saying that the people that, if you want to say KHU out, the people that are actually elected, is because of the vagueness or the ambiguity in this constitution. Because if they are nominated by the foundation and like you are a life member, unamfukuza aende wapi? They're life. I'm trying to get that because they're life members of that club. So
I think let's read here the honorary life members. The council may at its discretion appoint up to maximum of 15 persons to be honorary life members of the union. They shall have no voting rights at all elections and meetings. Foundation members are any persons who became a foundation member of the union prior to September 22nd, 1953, and shall still be recognized as a foundation member. They shall have no voting rights. So, so the council will appoint honorary life members, up to 15 members. The foundation members are anyone, prior September 1953. Now,
so like the foundation members are basically the founders of KHU, or founders of the sports, of the game of hockey. So by right, they're like, tulianzisha hii kitu, sisi ni independence fighters for this game, so we are there. and you can, and as long as I was there before that date, I will have to be there. So if you can imagine right now, how many foundation members do we have alive?
Mm.
Or even if not alive, but who are active in the game of hockey right now, like who are
Yeah.
active. And then you do realize that these are people who do not have voting rights. So they basically do not have a say in the decision making of KHU, which now
They
takes us back. If you do not have a vote and you have a decision that is to be made and is to be subjected to a vote, it becomes a problem. Because why have them? Are you having them to fill the number? Are you appointing these 15? Why have these 15 honorary life members if they cannot vote? What exactly do you seek to what do you seek to attain? Or rather, what do you seek to achieve by having these 15? What is their function there? Because if they do not have voting rights, then why have them?
Article 15 says that there are usually annual AGMs for foundation and honorary members, and there is
And
a
in
committee.
the and it is in these AGMs that elections are supposed to be held.
But
So what
elections
are they doing?
but there are elections for the committee of honorary and life members, and the committee of honorary and life members has a president, two deputy presidents, three members, a secretary, a treasurer, and two committee members. And then the same committee, so elected, will nominate the two representatives that sit in the council. And then now the duties of the committee are to assist the union through its members in raising funds and assisting all activities of the union. So they might not have voting rights, but they are supposed to assist in the activities, including making money.
They're supposed to assist in the activities of including making money, yes. But then can we say then they are also eligible to the KHU out? Because if the council fails to get money or to mobilize enough funds to finance the game of hockey, or fails to secure sponsorship, fails to talk to the government and perform its functions, and they would say that the greatest hurdle maybe they have is finances. And you do have 15 honorary life members whose functions include helping you get money. So they are part of the problem. So I think now it could be clear to now include them in that list of KHU out.
Interesting
It
stuff.
would be safe to include them there, because why have people in office who cannot make decisions, but they have functions outlined for them that they're supposed to help you carry out. So if they do not help you carry out these functions, in essence, it means that they are contributing to the failures of the council to perform its functions, its outlined functions in the constitution.
Yeah. And if I look at this, if I look at the council, let me just pull it up again. A lot of, as we said, there are a lot of questions that are coming out of this. And as we wait for Njugush to come back, okay, he's back. I might add and say, Njugush, that more or less KHU looks like a very exclusive club to get into. It's very difficult to get into.
you keep referring this to as an exclusive club, but I think there's openness, and Brenda has alluded to it, that you can still go there. And I think one of the areas that for me, I think it's not an exclusive club per se. I mean, I'm sure, Simon, you can afford is it 50,000 for an member? Or if you want to be a patron or a vice patron, you can just give them 100,000.
Let's read. You know, it's important to read so that it's not hearsay. I think Brenda has that clause for honor life members, so that we, because of interest of time, we need to understand the electoral process.
Okay.
Brenda, when you're wakili, explain to us what Jugush is saying about 50,000.
So for honorary life members, you remember that they're saying that the council may, at its discretion, appoint a maximum of 15 people who will not have. But now, when you go to the definition of who of their fees, then they're saying that immediately upon notification of being admitted as an honorary life member of the union, the person so admitted is liable to pay a minimum fee of 50,000 Kenya shillings. This fee must be paid within 1 calendar month of such notification being received, and in addition, the person so admitted shall pay a levy of 5,000 shillings per year. So they're saying a minimum to mean the fact that they're saying that the council shall admit, like shall appoint. So I think it is their discretion that they do pick people. So I think um, what Jugush is saying, or what Simon is saying, that it is an exclusive club, because if you want to look around the game and say so and so can be able to afford a minimum of 50,000 Kenya shillings within a month that I tell them I have appointed them as a honorary life member of KHU, so you notify them that I have appointed you, so you need to pay this a minimum of that amount. They do not specify the maximum, but it's a minimum within that month. And every year you now pay an annual fee of 5,000 shillings. So it could be an exclusive club, I would want to add, because how many people within the game would afford that 50,000 shillings immediately they are notified of the same? So it's kind of creating, but you'd want to look at it in a positive manner, in that now that we know that part of the functions of these honorary life members is to help the club raise, to help the union looking in getting financial assistance or looking for money and all that, then it is only prudent that you identify people who have the money or know where to get the money. So yeah. But it is still an exclusive club.
But if we look at that point alone, then they are failing, because
Yeah.
recently we failed to attend a tournament based on financial assistance, and our astroturf at the moment is not good. So if I'm to say KHU out, I'd say the honorary
Plus
members and the foundation
members
members,
that they appointed.
yeah, if 15 times 50,000, how much is that?
A
And 15
minimum.
times.
And for how long have
Anyway,
they been there, and how
yeah.
and they've been paying the 5,000 per year? So
One thing I know, Jugush, because now you are back, is
Brenda, naona
whenever we are talking,
umepewa
whenever Jugush and Brenda, whenever we are talking about KHU, people only think about the executive. We forget that there is this council, and the
yes.
council also consists of their own representatives, that is the county associations. And now,
Yes.
Jugush, you can take us through the elections and how these county representatives get to go all the way to sit in the council.
Yeah, that's true. And Brenda, pick it up from there. How are these people elected now?
Just a minute as I get to this section, because I wouldn't want to misrepresent anything.
I'll also try to get the graphic as well, just to assist you on that.
Yeah, so they're saying that the elections of the union shall be held in accordance with the general principles stipulated in Article 81 of the Kenyan Constitution. So that's about have to notify them, and it's a secret ballot. Only members, as defined under Article 12 of this Constitution, shall be entitled to take part in the union. So if you look at the Article 12, that stipulates who is eligible to vote, then it tells you that the membership of the union is restricted to associations, foundations, life and honorary members. So the associations duly constituted, foundation members, honorary life members, but honorary life members here do not have voting rights. It's so exclusive, they do not have voting rights. And they so the board and committee members of the international Hockey Federation and the African Hockey Federation, then the representatives of the universities and the representatives of Kenya secondary schools. So those are like the representatives that are at that particular point in office are the people who are eligible to vote. Let us go back to the elections. So they're saying all voting shall be by secret ballot. And 3, that members of the executive committee, foundation members, honorary life members, and patrons shall not have any voting rights at any election of officials. All elections shall be decided by a simple majority of the valid votes cast by persons present and entitled to vote. So elections of all officials shall become effective as from the close of the meeting at which they have been elected. So that is basically a very brief process of elections. So it's upon these associations, or rather the member clubs, to ensure that their interests, they're only voting through representatives. So they're voting through the people they have sent or they have nominated to as representatives of the association. You cannot have clubs going to vote on their own. No, they have to vote through people. You cannot have umpires voting on their own. If the union of umpires is registered and recognized as under the Kenya Hockey Union, then they are supposed to have, as an association, that is, they're supposed to also send representatives. So it's basically a delegate system. You delegate your voting rights to these to the representatives that you're sending. Yeah.
Now, if we look at this, it states here that all council and committee members of an association that is duly registered with the Registrar of Sports and affiliation to the union shall be eligible to seek election as officers of the union, provided always that the nomination or nominations, which will be in writing and duly proposed by a member and seconded at least by at least 2 other members, with the consent in writing of the candidate, shall reach the office of the Secretary General at least 14 clear days preceding the AGM. So here, as you've said, the delegation system, the delegate system. So these associations, number one, as we said in part 1, they have to be registered under the Sports Act, so that they're eligible to seek election. Number 2 is that, as that we see here, is that we need at least 3 people, 3 delegates from the county and or the association, because one of them is vying for the post and seconded by 2. So, and then lastly, they have to submit this name, and the candidate has to consent and say that, yes, I agree, within 14 clear days. So let's start with, just dissect this kidogo. And I asked Jugush this question, and I'll ask you, Brenda, as the lawyer. What happens in the case that the KHU elections are here and there are no counties that are duly registered, or let's say they are not, although the candidates are not eligible to vie? What happens in that case? Does the current office continue, or do they postpone the date until such a time that the associations and the candidates are compliant?
Now that is a kizungumkuti, because I'm trying to imagine a situation where nobody has presented nomination papers, or nobody has presented themselves to vie for presidency at the general election. So what happens? Should you have the president continuing, whoever is there continuing as a president, because they cannot, you do not have anybody else to vote? And I want to tie this with the question that was asked earlier, that what should happen if, what happens if elections are not held? Because there are concerns even from the comment section that elections are coming in 3 months later, before the time that when the term was supposed to have ended. So the danger of having no elections held and having the people who are in the current office continuing with the with their term, it means that they're in office illegally, because if the constitution stipulates that you are in office for a term of 4 years, once the 4 years, by the time the 4 years are ending, you're supposed to have organized elections so that there is no vacuum, so that you do not leave a chance for a space for vacuum. Because I can easily now, the danger of having operating outside your term limit means that any decisions that you're making could easily be challenged, and they could easily be challenged because your term in office has expired, as prescribed in the constitution. It has expired, and you're there making decisions, carrying out, calling for elections and all that out of time without a valid reason. Of course, the law would also allow for situations whereby an election could be late, because if it were 2020, everyone was rushing to use the pandemic. We could not organize this because we were maybe cash stricken, or there was a pandemic, we couldn't do our operation. There has been a civil strife, there's a war, or there's an act of God, basically something that is out of these people's control. But now in a situation where your term has ended, you did not call for elections within that duration, any decisions that you're making as an office could be challenged, and they would actually be set aside because you're making them as who? Term yako iliisha January, where in April you're calling for elections, and you want like, who are you in this transaction? Because you need to be carrying them as part of a mandate that has been assigned to you. But since you are out of office legally and there's no office, there's that vacuum. So it leaves space for a lot of fights, a lot of challenging, a lot of it gives space for people to challenge the decisions that you're making, or even challenge your existence in that office. So back to the question of what happens if nobody presents themselves, because there is a requirement that you submit yourself and you have to be seconded. So if nobody uh, at these regional bodies or associations present themselves for elections, because they're saying anyone could, then I think at the national level, because the constitution itself is silent on what should happen, because I don't think there would envisage a situation where nobody is interested in change, because people are calling for change, people are calling for KHU out, yet nobody wants to present themselves to be elected. Or if somebody is elected but there's nobody to second them, I think they'll have to postpone time, because now that is a valid reason, something that would maybe cripple the process, because you want to organize, we have a mandate of organizing elections. So time imefika where we have to organize these elections, but we do not have candidates vying. So that would form now a valid reason as to when you'd seek an extension of time, so that you give people more time to maybe present themselves.
True.
Let me take you back a bit on that bit of election timelines, and go back to county associations. And my question is back to where we started on, that is the roadmaps. Brenda, must county associations wait for the union, the national body, to give them a roadmap, or they can initiate their process of elections by themselves?
These county associations, I want to believe, before they are registered, because these county associations should also be registered on their own, they also do have their constitutions. So it's safer if they rely on what their constitution provides. And in most instances, me being a county association, and I know I am affiliated to the Kenya Hokey Union, I'd want my constitution to be aligned with the KHU constitution, so that there is no clash. So if it's not aligned, then it means the higher body would prevail, like the KHU constitution is what will guide us. And if as the county constitution, if as a county association, My constitution does not require that I hold my elections when KHU are nearly holding their elections. Then I could go ahead and hold my elections then, and only send representatives once the notice, the statutory notice for elections has been given for the national body.
Mm, mm,
Yeah.
mm,
But
mm,
in most instances, you would want, as a county association, to have your constitution aligned to the national body, the national organization that you are affiliated to, just to avoid the clash.
So in this case, that they needed to have done the elections before and in the stipulated time, not wait for the roadmap to come up. Eh?
mm, mm. But Njugush, if we look at the constitution, it says that the general meetings, of which part of the general meeting is to have the elections, should be held before the 31st of July. So, and Brenda has said that they need to align their constitution to match the one for KHU. So, ideally, it makes sense for in their constitution to have that clause where they say the elections can be done before a certain date, that is prior to KHU's deadline as well. And as we said,
Yeah.
it's important that KHU, once they give the statutory notice, that counties now effect what they are told to do. I want to bring back this graphic as we finish up on the elections, and it's about the nomination and elections. What I find interesting here, Jugush, is that these associations ideally select delegates, and as last time I asked a question, and I'm sure a lot of guys are also asking the question, but this is the question. This is the point, sorry. Each association will be entitled to send 2 representatives to the general meeting of the union. The names of the said delegates shall be notified in writing to the Honorary Secretary General of the union by association in question at least 14 days prior the commencement of the meeting. So, other than the person who's vying for the election being seconded by 2 people, the association still needs to send 2 people to the KHU elections. So, Brenda, in this case, and we've seen the constitution of KHU does not dictate how these 2 nominees are selected, but they say they have to be 2. So, do counties in their constitution have to state that this is how we'll be getting the 2 nominees, or this is how we'll be getting the people who are seconding the one who's going to vie?
That would be left now for the associations, the county associations, to say in their own constitution that, okay, fine, we are supposed to select 2 people to go to attend the general meeting. Now, these 2 people are going to vote in the national elections. So that would be left for the counties to decide, so that because I'd want to see if there could be a situation where I represent a particular association, I'm part of the 2 people, then there is a complaint that whoever is representing my association was not duly elected by the association. So that is why it is important to have your own elections at the association levels, that roadmap that you are seeing, because it is out of that roadmap that out of those elections that you end up having your representatives for the national elections. Of course, there are disputes that will arise. The people who say that so and so purports to be representing a particular association at the AGM, yet they are not elected by the association, the members do not recognize them. So the provision for having these names given at least 14 days is so that should there be any issue arising, should there be any dispute on who these people really are, who elected them, then you can go back to the constitution of that association or their rules of how they usually operate and ask them, okay, you purport to be representing a particular association. Were you duly selected as they do? as their constitution stipulates. So if they can prove to them that I was actually elected by I was actually selected by this association in such a process, then the KHU, or rather the people attending the general meeting, would just admit them to the general meeting.
Yeah, and Njugush, you are discussing this, and yes.
Let me just say something here, and I'm going to speak hypothetically. I'll not say which association it was, but in the last election, this was such a big issue when it came to, the elections bit of the last election. So it's good that Wakili has brought that to our attention and has specified what exactly is needed to be done. That all associations will be able to follow up the due process and nominate the people and let those people's names be forwarded to the current sitting Secretary General, who is supposed to have that list of people who are doing that.
Yeah.
But have you noticed something, even as we wait on Brenda to come on board, that you elect people, they sit there, and then they are the ones who sit on you now.
Good point. Good point. It's a culture we have in the world. I don't want to say in Africa, but in the world, because one thing I've noticed is this, and I said this last time. The fact that you are not informed of what is going on shows you the sort of characters are going to lead hockey in the country. So if someone cannot write to your club, or at least someone in your club has the information and does not involve you, and they know that you do express your concerns about how the hockey is governed, how hockey is governed in this country, how can you trust that person to even lead the club? Those are the questions
I think
you should ask.
if I can flip it on the other side is, do I as a player get to know what is happening on a monthly basis on what my club is doing, on what my association is doing, and through the association I can get to know what the union is doing up there, or rather what plans they have.
Let me fancy you this. Someone told me this, that they do get statement of accounts and they are supposed to relay this information down to the clubs, and which does not happen. And we know it's part of the noise that, I don't want to say noise, let me call concern. It's part of the concern. Sorry guys for saying it's noise. It's part of the concern. And on Sunday I was having a discussion with some of my friends, and I asked them the same question. If your own club official cannot tell you that they are vying for a post at county elections or national elections, and they know that you have these concerns, how do you expect them, once they get there, to represent represent you and sort out those concerns? For example, if to get this document, to get the KHU constitution, to get the county constitution, to even get the club constitution, it's a hassle. How then do we expect the governance of this sport to improve? We need to have a look at these issues professionally and say, and put personal matters aside and say, this is where we are failing. Professionally, this is where we are failing. We've already had a lot of questions about this constitution, and it's good to critique. It's good to have a look and say, this does not seem right. Can we correct it? And there's nothing wrong about it, because even in our current Kenyan constitution, or a company policy, I know, Brenda, you have a company policy. Sometimes you look at it and say, we need to change this. So
Yeah.
yeah.
If I can contribute to that, you find that the moment you have an ambiguous law, the moment you have a law that a constitution that has its own, it clashes on its own, or it has clauses that no longer serve the purposes of the game, then it means that is bad law already. You cannot have a constitution that leaves so many issues open. Like, if it's the purpose of having this is supposed to be a guide on the most critical matters, because trust me, there's no law that is 100% perfect. That is why there's a provision for having amendments, and there's a provision for having rules that you can just have an addendum to your constitution, or have bylaws to add on to your constitution. But the most critical issues are, let's say, the membership, because you're seeing that it has been left ambiguous. You are saying that you have the constitution saying that the council shall appoint at least 15 who are able. What is their qualification? Are they just supposed to be able to pay that 50,000? Are they supposed to be people, like, what is the threshold of these people? Because if you once you leave it open, then everyone can bring in whoever they wish, because they want them to be in that office, to be part of the decision making. If you cannot define, if you do not give these associations a clear route, like a clear let's say process or procedure of electing these officials that you would want to come, because if these are representatives of associations as form part of the membership of the general meeting where elections are made, and the governance, like the governing body of the union is elected, then at least you need to be interested in knowing how these associations, like, just give them direction on how they should pick. I'm not saying that you should pick for them, or interfere with the elections or what, but at least have a guideline, have a minimum threshold that the people that they are picking at the association, the people they're electing at the association level, the representatives to come on top, should at least meet. That one safeguards the standards, because you cannot say that you will pick anyone from the association, you will pick anyone from the universities, you will pick anyone from the secondary schools, and expect that they bring the same standards that you would want to uphold at the national level.
Yeah,
If you're supposed to be
on that point, as you explained, there's this question here, and I'll also add to this question. Thank you, Peter Mwade, for asking this. My question is, does it mean that the provision for the president and secgen of the association to become delegates is not constitutional? On top of that, these electoral posts in the KHU, according to the constitution, it says that any person elected as an office bearer must not hold an elective post in associations directly affiliated to the union. So this means that I can't, basically this clause, the way I'm understanding it, and I'll read carefully, any person elected as an office bearer must not hold an elective post in associations directly affiliated to the union or in bodies in which it's an association. So this means if, let's say, I'm the president of Nairobi County, I can vie for the post, and then once I win, I resign.
You have to resign. Yes.
Okay.
You can vie, but resign. The reason that this, I'd start with the question that Peter Mother is asking, that does it mean that the provision for president and secretary generals, it is not there? They're only saying that two representatives from the associations. So it could be anyone. It could be a member of the associations, as long as the associations forward the names, submit their names 14 days to when the elections are supposed to be there in writing, and they have to be seconded, of course, by the members. So as long as the people that the representatives that they are taking, that they're forwarding names to the national union to be part of the general meetings, it must not be that you are the president or the secretary general. And I think it's a good provision, so that you do not have a scenario of you've just come from your elections for the associations. From that roadmap, you see that the time limits are quite kidogo. So if again you want to pick the president and the secretary general again to go there, then it means they'll have to resign and you have to come back and choose others. So to avoid that, to avoid all that, it's better that you have other people who do not hold positions in the associations. It's also important that one cannot be your representative or cannot vie for president of the national union and at the same time be a president of an association. It is just for purposes of avoiding conflict of interest. Because I'd use an example of football. If I am a club chairperson, then I do vie for the national body and they win and I win it and I still retain my membership or like my leadership or chairmanship of the club. There will be issues arising of favoritism or one club is getting more money because the president of the union is their chairperson also or belongs to that club. So you have to relinquish one so that at least you just remain with one to avoid the conflict of interest that may arise. It's I would say I would say that it is impossible to have one run both, but at the same time, just to make sure that you even clear the doubts in the minds of people, like in the heads of people. Why be the president? You're not the only one who knows hockey. You're not the only one who is interested in seeing this game grow. So pick a struggle, or rather pick a position. If you want to be the chairman of the union, be there. But do not be a chairman of the union and at the same time you're chairman of an association in whichever county you choose or in whichever county you come from or whichever association, county association you want to be a member or rather you're a member of.
Yeah, and the Constitution also goes further to state that no person who's registered as a player of a club can be elected or nominated on the council, but can be co-opted without voting rights. So essentially, it means the moment you step into the executive, that is the executive committee, you stop playing hockey, and also a player can be co-opted. But without voting rights. Also, it goes further and says no office bearer of the union shall act as a team manager or a technical officer for any club team participating in the tournament organized by the union or affiliate bodies of the union. And this is where we were joking with Jukush. It says team manager and technical officer, but it does not say coach. So, so which means you can be a coach at the same time the president of the federation, based on the constitution. Now, going to some questions. If there is evidence, Danko, thank you very much for your comments. So, if there is evidence to the failure, to their failure to roll on their roles or started, sorry, let me read. If there is evidence to their failure to see the roles stated in the constitution, can they be legally held accountable for this? So, assuming they don't see through their roles.
That is part of
maybe as an addition, and you can play the last question he asked, because they are somehow related. Who is then taken to court? Is it the union? Is it the council? Or is it the executive?
Remember, there is the council. There is the union. The union is the council. It's as we've been told, it's the council. It's everyone. Remember, there is the council. There is the executive committee. There are the subcommittees, and there is the committee of life members and honorary members. I keep confusing the names. So, who is taken to court?
Okay, to answer that, so if I start with the first question, that if there is evidence of their failure of the roles stated in the Constitution, can they be legally held accountable? Yes, they can't be legally held accountable because the moment you register KHU, it's a union on its own and it has its own, like you can't sue it. It's a body that you can sue, and of course, we know that all matters of regarding sports should be taken to the Sports Dispute Tribunal. So, you being a member of, remember, you have to be a registered member. So, either through your club or an association, you could now go and
rewind. Let's make it clear again.
You being a member, a registered member, can sue the council because it is the council who have their rules outlined in the constitution. So if you feel that if it's they're failing to provide, they're failing to perform any of the 12 functions that they were given or any other functions that they should be doing, they should be carrying out, then of course you have recourse at the Sports Dispute Tribunal. You will sue the council. They are the ones who
and
have.
there's a question here. It has just come through in my inbox. What if a member of the council sits in the sports tribunal and you've taken them to sue them in the same sports tribunal?
A member, ordinarily what happens is the moment you sit in the Sports Dispute Tribunal, you're not supposed to be to hold any positions in these unions that are likely to in any organization that are likely to bring their disputes to the tribunal that you sit in. That is what should happen. So that is what should happen, because you cannot be a judge in your own case. So if a member sits and they are sued because they are a member and unfortunately they sit at the tribunal, then they just be asked to recuse themselves so that somebody else listens to the matter.
Okay.
So that ain't not a complication, but you can sue, and if you and it's not even about, like, it's not just about suing. There are other recourses that you can have as a member that feels dissatisfied with how the union is performing its function. If you have reasons to believe that funds are not being used the proper way, you can always write to the sports registrar and write a letter, make inquiries, and if you have reason to believe, then the sports, the cabinet secretary in charge of matters sports can call for inspection. So it starts with the speculations, but of course you're not going to push every kind of speculation, so and so amekula pesa ya wapi. You have to have valid reasons. So be it your county association, be it KHU, if you have reasons enough, like reasons that hold water, that functions are not being performed, or somebody is not performing their roles as required, then you have the recourse, you have the legal channels that you can follow.
But the key thing here is you have to be a registered member.
Yes, you have to be, because I would not want to make the question is as who unaenda kama nani. Are you a member? No. So what is your interest in this?
And by member, do we mean an individual person being a member of a registered club who's an affiliate of an association?
Because the clubs form part of they form part of the associations, and the clubs are formed by people. So the clubs ordinarily, I know it may not be happening, but the clubs are supposed to have a register of their members. So if you do have players and you do have fans, you just have members, because I'd want to believe that the good clubs do not make money out of their own, and they should not just rely on the KHU to fund them or the government to fund them. So they do have fans that attend their games and pay subscription. That is as a way of raising money. That is what should happen.
There's
so
this
by the time you want by the time you want to register, like this club, you make sure by the you are a member, not only of a club, but a club that has been registered under the Sports Act and affiliated to KHU. Then you can have valid grounds for the same.
Yeah. So
Hapo
Nicodemus,
ndo kizungumkuti iko.
just hold there. I just hold there, because this question will also lead to my response. And I want Njugush to answer this, and then we can have the lawyer's view. Who is Njugush? Wewe ni mtu wa Hokey. Who is accountable for the failures of the union?
It is me as a player.
No, but assuming I'm registered as a player with my club. My club is duly registered with the Sports Act. My association is registered. Everything is right, but people are failing at the union, or the union has failed. So who takes accountability? Is it the executive? Is it the council? Is it the committee? Is it the subcommittees? Who takes the responsibility? Or is it dependent on what has failed?
I believe it's the council, because if the rules are, or rather their roles are clearly stipulated. The 12 laws that are clearly stipulated. So it is the council which is held responsible for the running of this of matters Hokey in this country.
Now let's get the legal aspect as, and then I'll give my views on this. So, Brenda, the council is responsible, but
Yes.
but you see, the council here, I saw somewhere that the council can direct the president of the union to do something. So, do you think there is a case where, and I'm just making up theories and conspiracy, what if there is a case where the council directs the president to do something and he fails to do it? Or the council directs, let's say, a subcommittee to do something and they fail to do it? What are the repercussions as you answer this question?
The purposes of having these subcommittees I think if you look at how they are formed, they are so specific on the functions that they do. So that you have an administrative subcommittee, you have a finance and marketing, you do have a disciplinary, you have an emergency, stadium and social. So if the president directs a particular subcommittee to do something and they do fail, then the reason you have this constitution is so that you know who to go to when something is not working. So, if, for instance, the administration, it's the administrative wing of it that is failing, the members of this committee are people that are within the council. They're within this council. They're either the co-opted members, the honorary members. So the president should, as being the head of all, should prevail on his members or should prevail on the committee members to perform what they're supposed to do. Because if they fail, the only people that the public or the members out there would come for is the council. Because they're the people who are voted in. For the subcommittee, you are appointed, you are already a member here, and you have been voted for. So you are directly accountable for the membership. Either you're directly accountable to the association, you're directly accountable to the clubs, because they're the ones who form the association, who form members who come to vote for you eventually. So all the blame would go to the council. They are the only people who have clear roles that are that you can pinpoint that you have failed in 1, 2, 3, so that if a subcommittee has failed, then it means it is the council. When forming this subcommittee, they should be, I believe that they want to look at the capabilities of whoever member, whatever members they have to perform those functions, because all the blame that would come back to them, all the blame would come back to them for failing to perform certain functions. It does not matter whether it is an administrative function, whether it is a disciplinary function, whether it is a stadium function, because they are forming subcommittees to help them in performing their roles as the council. So whoever is accountable here remains the council, absolutely.
Yeah. So my thoughts on that is that, and I've said before, that if we want to, and now people are calling for change and they want KHU out, it means that also your county representative needs to be shown the door, as well as the honorary members, the patrons, the ex-president, all of them need to go and we start afresh. But before they leave, we've seen here, and Brenda, you'll speak about this. Is it called dissolution or is it called what? I'm trying to, dissolution. We get to that point? And also, Jugush, we've already seen the roadmap and we've already identified where the problem is. That the associations are not involving their members, as well as the clubs are not involving their members. We've had instances where a certain committee is working, the rest are asleep. We've had instances where the council itself seems to be like it's against itself. It's like there is in-house fighting. Jugush, where do we turn next? Do we dissolve everything? Brenda, probably you can advise here. Do we rip up the script and say we sit down, do another constitution? Or because we look at this document, and as I've said, it looks like a very exclusive club to get into, because for me to get to KHU, I have to do a lot of lobbying to get there.
You need to be able to pay 50K within a month.
No, I'm not even saying be paid. I'm just saying
And
even as
who will
even
even
like
identify you, because it's at the
yeah.
discretion of the council members. They need to identify these at least 15 people. So you see,
Yeah,
it's
but
so often.
either way, even if it is in terms of an electoral post, if my association and my club is not involving me in these matters, then how am I going to get into KHU?
Impossible.
So you see, that's how I'm saying it's an exclusive club.
Hiyo mashida yako
Yeah.
peleka county association na club yako.
You need to tell your club to be serious about what you're doing. And number one,
No. What he
are
needs
you a
to do is
registered
become
member
a
of your club?
patron. He just needs to become a patron in his club.
You become a
Once
patron, and
Because I can tell you for a fact, na mimi naambia watu hapa, and I keep asking, how many are aware of this roadmap? Very few. And now, Brenda, now that people want change, what is the right track? How do we get, for example, the constitution to be amended? How do these players get to be heard? Because it seems that they are talking, but their views are not being taken into account. How do these players and club members make sure that their views are known? Is it that a must they become registered so that they can be heard? What advice would you give legally on what to do so that changes can be made?
now, because you see, the number one hurdle here is the constitution of KHU as it is. And the constitution itself, of course, provides for how to amend this constitution, and it stipulates that the constitution or any part of it may be amended, added or repealed by a resolution passed at an AGM or a special or an SGM, that is, provided that for it to be passed, it must be carried by a majority consisting of at least 2/3 of those present and entitled to vote. Now, this definitely would just go back to, it all boils down to the members and the associations, because if you do have interests that are not being catered for, or you feel that things could be done in a better way, and number one, amending this constitution and having it inclusive of, let it capture the things that you'd see that matter to the game. For instance, doing away with the many members, like the honorary members, or making it the things that are actually making members feel disgruntled. Then you need to, now that elections are here, back the right people up. Make sure when you're selecting your representative from the associations, they are people who will actually, who stand with your values, or who stand for what you want, the change that you want to see at the national level. So that if they do come, there must be people that actually firm in their stand. Sitting once they're elected, and once you send them as representatives, they go and vote their own way. So let them know your position. They're there, they're representing you as an association. So if they do represent you as an association, and there is a candidate at the national level who you feel is best suited to to bring in the change that you're yearning for, then make sure that the representatives you're sending will vote for that particular person. And now that you know that you have a way of holding these guys accountable, exercise those rights. Demand for information. You tell them, KHU, you're supposed to communicate to the clubs. You're supposed to communicate to the associations through these people that we have sent there. We did not send them there to just be voting machines, so that once they vote for you, then no information ever comes from them, or any form of representation ever comes from them. So we want the constitution to be changed. For you to amend a constitution, it has to be an initiative of someone. It will not come from anywhere else. You have to at least write a letter, being a member, registered member for that matter, write a letter, tell them that you're interested in changing 1, 2, 3. Then lobby as many people who have voting rights to support you so that they present this and have the chairperson or the president call for an SGM or an AGM when it's due so that these changes are implemented. And the people that you are voting, the people that you're sending up there should be able to know exactly what you want changed there. And even if the draft that you want or the amendments that you want are subjected to a vote, then it would be better if you ask for, you can even change the voting pattern. You ask them to have the constitution amended in that if there are fundamental issues that are supposed to be done on a document, then subject it to a vote from the grassroots level. The same way that you are allowed to have your elections at the association levels, then let the constitution also, because in the end, if the national constitution is changed, then it means the county association constitution that are aligned to it must also be changed so that the alignment continues. So subject this document to, let them collect opinions the same way we talk of public participation, but subject these amendments to public participation. And public participation in this essence would be have the clubs give their opinions on the amendment that you would want to have. So you tell them, we have a motion to amend the constitution, to change 1, 2, 3 clauses. What do you think about this clause? How best will it serve you? So then you go with the majority, of course. Yeah, because you're in a democratic space.
Yeah. So ideally, it means that the county officials who've not quite been in agreeing with the constitution need to, as the constitution states, need to initiate the process because their members are complaining, their members are asking for change, they are sitting at the council and they are doing nothing. So ideally, it means that the county associations should, after the elections, sit down and say, guys, we need to amend this document. Otherwise, there are a lot of complaints coming from the players, from the club members, and to me, it feels like no one is taking them into account. So, in my view, if I was asked, I think the flow of information is not quite right. I was speaking with someone and I was saying that whenever KHU call for a team meeting, that's the point where they pass down certain information to the clubs. And if they decide to use that forum to pass such information, then let them pass all information, including the county elections and the national elections or the AGMs, if that's the case. Because if you call people for a club, a league meeting, let the discussion be about the league. If you call a meeting for an AGM, let it be to discuss the AGM. In the same view, let this information be there in the public so that people don't critique you and say, we are not getting this information. Probably you are the ones who have not passed. Put out a press release just stating the dates of the election, the dates of the AGM. Of course, people will not attend because they are not members based on the constitution, but it's good to put out information out there. That's part of the transparency that people are calling for. Transparency is just showing people what you are doing. You might be working behind closed doors and you do not know that you're even working or struggling. And probably there are people out here who are willing to support. In the same view, I don't know whether Njugush is still there or not. I feel that we, as clubs, we've also slept. As associations, we've slept because if we look at the constitution, it's pretty clear who are the members of KHU. And as much as we want for change, let's not call for the executive only to leave and yet the other council members are there. So if we want everyone to go, then it means the council has to go. So anyway, we have to wind this up. So Brenda, thanks very much for coming through and educating us. What are your final thoughts on the both part 1 and part 2 as we wrap up this discussion?
I remain of the opinion that in as much as we want to always lay blame on others, for us to have better grounds for even calling for change, then let every stakeholder do their part. So if you are a member, make sure you're registered. If is your club registered? Is your club even like Study Umbrella in complying with the Sports Act? Are you registered under the Sports Act? Are you complying? Is your association complying? Does your association have a constitution? What does it state? Like, so that you know if you have voting rights in your association, and you outline the people that you outline the processes of you electing people to represent you at the national level, then make sure that it's something that it's a process that you can actually hold these people accountable, so that you don't have people saying that since Mimi your president or association, I'm going to I automatically earn a seat. So let it not be like, yeah.
Yeah.
So whatever change you're calling for has to start from the grassroots. For you to
Yeah.
see change at the national level, it has to start from the grassroots. And the people that you're electing at the national level also, at least subject them. Like, know your rights. So my constitution, it's nothing. It's a 16-page document. Just read so that you know exactly. I am so and so, and I can actually write to so and so and find information. If information is not flowing, find it, because most people do not know about what is happening, uh, not because they do not want to know, but because they're not asking the right questions. You may have sent in a representative for your association, but they're failing in that sense. If this information is available on the website, go find it there and initiate that conversation that the change has to come from all of us.
Jugush, yo, ama unataka mi nimalizie ama hata amehang. When I think of this, Brenda, I'll tell you the truth. When I think of this whole story, I just get tired and frustrated. Jugush is back. Whenever I think about the whole story, the whole KHU story, county story, club story, I usually get very tired and frustrated, because you try to have an open, honest conversation with people, and it usually ends up pointing fingers at KHU and pointing fingers at individuals. One thing I'd like to say, and I've said it before in this podcast, don't take things personal. You might have a personal issue with, let's say, an official or a member, but don't take things personal. Let's have a professional look at things. At the same time, when you're holding this public office, when you're holding this public appointment, be true to your word. Sorry, I'm bringing Jugush back. Be true to your word. Make sure that whatever guys sent you to do, you've done it. And if you fail, accept that, yes, people fail and they correct. If mistakes are done, let's accept mistakes are done. Because at the moment, if you engage anyone in Hokey, they are not happy with what's going on and they are asking for change. But if you look at the whole situation, you look at how people are talking, you look at how things are going, it's like the people who can actually cause this change at the moment, who are representatives at the moment, are not taking action to cause this change. So the guys who are vying in, who are vying to come in this time for the next 4 years, know that you have a responsibility. Those guys who want to retain their seats know that you have a responsibility to listen to the interested parties, to listen to what they are saying. And I like what, Brenda, you've said, public participation, engage people. Let's get to a professional level where we sit down and say, weka matusi kando, weka personal issues kando. Can we sit down now and have a look? We hear what you're saying. Can we now, for the future, because sisi hatutakuwa hapa in the next 30-40 years, probably the council that is there haitakuwa, it will be other people, and who knows, probably wale wataingia, they'll even be worse. than those who are in at the moment, because the constitution as it is there are clauses that are quite ambiguous. We might have people who come in and actually do even worse. So let's accept, let's say watu wanaongea, we need to listen to them. And part 1, part 2, watch that. Nicodemus, you're asking about the minimum requirements as a county. That's what we discussed in part 1. They are long videos, yes, but take time to listen to them. Take time to learn. As Brenda has said, if you don't have the constitution, contact either me or Njugush. We'll send it to you. Get to read it. Get to understand it. And my final thoughts is, let's be all compliant. Let's know the right way to do things. Let's critique professionally. Put personal issues aside for the future of the sport. I want my son and his sons and daughters to play this sport and enjoy this sport in the country. And it is our responsibility at the moment to make sure that change has happened. So Njugush, back to you. Njuguna, can you hear us? I think he's having issues. So, ladies and gentlemen, thanks very much for coming through. Oh, you are there. Okay. Malizia show sasa. Njuguna. Yeah, Brenda, thanks very much for coming through. We shall engage you more on legal matters, sports matters. And as we said, people can get you. We'll share your number and social pages as well. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, stay warm, stay safe. Let's see whether Njugush can still come in and tell us goodbye. Njugush, you're struggling. Do we end the show? Juguna? Okay. Have a good one, guys.
Yes.
Cheers. And uko hapo?
Let's end
Tunaenda
the show. We
kumaliza
have a
show.
lot to think about, and we
Yeah.
have a lot for us to form up on.
Okay. Nice time. Bye-bye.